Hey, it's Wednesday! And as promised, we are going to have a little bit of a chat about sexual health and sexual health testing and stuff. And part of this is because I got curious and decided to ask the wonderful people of the interwebs, when was the last time they had a sexual health checkup, aka an STI test? So I had 20 people respond, which is cool. I'm glad I got some responses. And I'm gonna see if I can keep this up whilst filming this. Let's get you into a separate tab. So, on the survey, I had the options within the last 3 months, within the last 6 months, within the last 12 months, over a year ago, or I've never had one. Now, there are a million ways I could break this down and make it way more detailed and everything else, but I literally just wanted to know, when was the last time someone went for a sexual health checkup? So, the most common answer, with 45% of the votes, was over a year ago. Now, I know because a couple of people were asking me for the option that it's usually, or that the majority of people that have picked this option are people that have been in long-term partnerships with the same partner. So like, that's cool, it's all well and good, and that's fine. And I'm kind of really glad that no one had picked the option of never had one. Now, I don't know if that's them being honest, or if maybe I just didn't get anyone to respond to it that hadn't had a sexual health checkup, but like, of the 20 responses, none of them said they hadn't had one, so that's cool. It's really good. So some of you are probably sitting there like, well, what's it to do with anything, and why do you care, and blah 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 blah. I literally got curious and wanted to know. But as a poly person with multiple partners doing all sorts of wonderful and weird things, I think it's important to like have regular sexual health checkups. Now, I'm not saying you have to have one every single month. I'm pretty sure the recommended is like every 3 months or every new partner. Don't quote me on that, I'm not a sexual health expert yet. One day maybe. So looking at that, the next highest response was within the last 3 months. And then it was within the last 12, and then the last 6. So that's cool. It's interesting to see the difference and to see if people are having it, how often they're having it, sort of thing. Now, obviously this isn't the most reliable result. I only got 20 people to respond. That is not really a wide enough data pool to be able to be a super accurate representation of the general populace, but it's pretty cool. Based on the 20 that we got, it's interesting to know that the majority of them, based on how people responded outside of this, are likely in a long-term relationship with the same partner and therefore don't get tested. Or, not that they don't get tested, but they haven't had a need to be tested in recent times. I'm feeling English today, it's fine. So yeah, I personally get tested like once every 2 months, 3 months, 2 or 3 months, depending on my schedule. Or if I've gotten a new partner, then I'll do it the appropriate time after that, and always use condoms. So I'm not here to give you a sex ed lesson, although I can if you want. I'm basically just sort of drawing attention to something because there has been a rise in the UK. Now, I'm going to talk about the UK because I'm from the UK, so if you're from America, sorry, or Canada or Europe or anywhere other than the UK, then this isn't really aimed at you. Like, totally cool to listen in and see what the difference is. Maybe you can tell me a bit more about what goes on in your country. That'd be cool. But yeah, in the UK, there has been like a rise, or I keep seeing news articles talking about a rise in, is it gonorrhea? I'm sure it's gonorrhea or syphilis. It keeps popping up. and a whole bunch of sexual health charities and organisations are coming together, and we're trying to reach zero transmission, or 0% of new transmissions or infections of HIV by 2030, which is awesome. Because obviously we have PrEP and PEP, and like we have so much more information available to us now. So HIV is totally controllable. Like, if someone is HIV positive and they're on their medication, we can get to the stage where they can't transmit it to anyone, and that's epic, like amazing. And obviously there's PrEP, which is pre-exposure pill. I'm forgetting what PrEP stands for. Anyway. And the idea is that if you are likely to be coming into contact with someone that could potentially be HIV positive, you can take PrEP and it will reduce your chances of catching HIV. Obviously you should use condoms and other methods of protection, and you should be honest with your partners, and that's a whole other kettle of fish. But yeah, it's nice to see that people that have responded anyway seem to be like aware that testing is a thing that they should do or should have done at some point. And like, I'm really happy to see that. I was really worried I was going to get a bunch of people saying they'd never had one, because I don't think that the UK has terrible sex education. I just don't think it has great sex education, and I think there's still so much stigma attached to like going and getting tested, not to mention they don't really make it easy for you. So if you've ever been to a UK NHS drop-in clinic, it's a bit of a nightmare. Depending on how the individual clinic is run, the wait times can be anywhere from half an hour to 3 hours. They see you depending on how urgent your case is, obviously, because they're not absolute fools. The nurses are always lovely, the staff are always great. It's just sometimes they do things in weird ways, and they've got a bunch of questions that they ask you, and you go through it all, and sometimes you get like a little look on their face and you can tell that they're judging you, but they're not allowed to judge you, and it's like, But anyway, nah, I'm kidding. It's super easy. You go in, you answer the questions, they do swabs or bloods or both, depending on what you're getting tested, and then they send you away with a wee phone number and your patient number, and you call back in 2 weeks. Yeah, you call back in 2 weeks or however long the waiting time is to get your results. Easy peasy. But yeah, but like I was saying, if it's only really relevant if you're sexually active and have a new partner, or have a new partner since you were last tested. Because I mean, if you've been tested and your partner's been tested and it's the same person that you're hooking up with, then you don't really need to get a test every single, like, I would, okay, so I personally would still say maybe get a checkup once a year, like, but that's my personal paranoia, I guess. You can also get home testing kits, which is really cool. You can buy them in Boots. How cool is that? I've seen a HIV one in Boots, and I think Superdrug has one. You can order them online as well, and that's really cool. You can also go and pay for a private clinic, but why would you? Like, don't do it. There are so many drop-in clinics available. You'll be able to find them on the NHS website, or like just Google it. You'll find something. Granted, they're not always super convenient, but it's an important thing to do at least once per partner. So if it's something you haven't already done, you should probably do it. And you shouldn't be afraid to sit your partner down and ask them if they've had a sexual health checkup. Like, if you've got a new partner and you're getting to that stage where you're like, right, we might actually, you know, do the do, then you should stop and go, so when was the last time you were tested? Have you been tested at all? Have you been tested since your last partner? Have you got any other partners? Are you seeing anyone other than me? Like, and it goes both ways. And it's not something you're accusing someone of. You're not trying to like be like, oh, it's an open, honest adult conversation. And it shouldn't be something scary. It shouldn't be something mean. It should just be hey, this is a thing. Have you done this thing? Have I done this thing? Are we all good? Do we know where we're comfortable? What boundary methods we're on? Contraception, if that's a thing that you need to worry about. Like, it's just a conversation we should all be having. And I know you're sitting there going, Blue, I thought you said this wasn't going to be a sex ed lecture. Well, sorry. So yeah, basically from the responses I got on my little survey that I ran, people seem to have their heads on straight, and that's cool. I'm glad that people are responsible and aware of their own sexual health, because that is something that maybe doesn't get talked about as much. Like, we're really focused on, oh, don't get diabetes, or watch your weight, you could become obese, or don't smoke, you'll get lung cancer, or blah 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 blah. But like, we don't really talk about sexual health after high school. Like, and you know, one of the highest risk categories is like people over 50. I think it was over 50. But like, because they didn't have the information when they were younger, nobody bothered to catch them up when they got older, and now we're finally getting them in for testing, and wouldn't you know it, there's been some little hiccups that have never been sorted out, and it can be like super devastating. So get tested, basically. It's not scary, it's easy peasy. Like, if you don't like needles, you maybe will have a not super fun time if you're doing bloods, but you don't even necessarily have to do bloods. Like, bloods are just for HIV and syphilis. Yeah. So like, you can do swabs for most stuff. And you can do oral swabs, vaginal swabs, and anal swabs. And you can ask for all free if they don't offer it up front. Obviously, that's only if you're having unprotected sex, orally, vaginally, anally. So like, use some common sense. But yeah, so this has been a little bit of a ramble about your sexual health and getting tested, and why it's something that we shouldn't be afraid to talk about. Other than that, there's not been a huge amount going on. I've had a couple of photo shoots. I'm aiming to get a couple more done. Unfortunately, the weather was super again. Oh my god. So, I was doing a photo shoot, and I was wearing a long white dress and a corset, and I had my wig on, and the wind was against me. It was freezing. I was barefoot because I didn't have any shoes that really went with what I wanted, so barefoot it was, sitting on a gravestone, freezing my bits off, and just being like, well, I will suffer for my art and I will hopefully get something good out of it. Thanks. Oh, but yeah, those photos turned out pretty good. The wind kind of ruined a lot of the shots, but also really helped with some of them. Like, it looks pretty cool in a couple. But you'll see those on my OnlyFans far sooner than you'll see it on my Patreon. I think my Patreon's currently scheduled up to January now. Yeah. I might throw in an extra one for Halloween just because it's fun. So yeah, photo shoots on the way. Oh, in fact, you know what's arrived, or I say arrived, collected. Ta-da! So it's gonna look silly because my hair is up and I have a bow on already, but So I just need the rest of my outfit. But my friend Charlie, Charlie T Paints on Instagram, I'll check and the name will be here. You should go follow them. They're super awesome. They made this super great crown. I'm gonna hold up. Can you see it? Can you see it? Can you tell I've been watching What's the Safe Word? Which, if you guys haven't seen, you should go check it out. They're great. Really funny. And very informative as well. Anyways, so yeah, I realised today's vlog's been a little long. Sorry, not sorry. But yeah, I hope you guys have a super awesome week, and until then, stay safe and be happy. Bye!